Right. Looks like we are live. What's going on, everyone? Tripp Kramer here from trippadvice.com, coming to you live per normal on our Wednesday night. As you can see, I am with another human, virtual distancing ourselves. This is Mark.
Exactly.
This is Mark over
Hey
at
guys.
Zerby. Give a hello to Mark. Say hi, Mark, in the chat. Why I have him here today is because he's got some really cool stuff to talk about with online dating. And I believe this is a good time to be talking about online dating because this is where a lot of the dating is going on because, like I said a second ago, we're all doing the social distancing thing. We're all kind of keeping to ourselves here. Approaching is not what we're doing right now. We have to wait a little bit till that happens. So for now, we can do some online dating. And I know a lot of guys, they really, and Mark, you'll actually be able to speak to this a little bit. I feel like a lot of guys are really obsessed with the openers, like what to say. What do you think are
Yeah.
your other biggest questions you get in terms of online dating? Like what are guys asking you?
Well, the big problem that a lot of guys are having beyond the opener, which is the biggest, is writing their bio. I get so many people that ask me about that. And it's interesting because the bio isn't that important. You can really use whatever for a bio. In fact, I think with a bio, the benefit of it is if you have a good bio, women will message you first. But that's about it. It doesn't really add too much more beyond that unless you have something really, really bad for your bio. But honestly, it's just Tinder openers is the by far the biggest problem that people have.
What do you think about pictures? Someone said in the chat, if you have really good pictures, they'll want to message you first. What do you think is heavier in terms of importance, pictures or bio?
Pictures. Yeah, definitely.
You think
Yeah.
pictures are more important?
Yeah, you need to have a good photo because Tinder is a photo platform, right? If a girl sees your picture and she's not attracted to you, it's not going to happen. And a lot of guys will say, okay, well, what happens if I'm short and pudgy? I'm 5'6", I'm not that good looking, I'm going to fail on Tinder. Well, that's me I'm describing. And my friend Jesse, actually from Simple Pickup, is a balding 30-something-year-old, short 5'6" Indian guy. And he's getting great results on Tinder. So it's not so much about the genetics. Obviously, some girls are not going to like what you look like and they're going to swipe left or right. But if you present yourself really well in your photos and you look exciting and interesting and intriguing, then you can do really well for yourself, even if you don't have that genetic edge, which other guys have.
Got it. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, you got to just work with what you can work with, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, here's a kind of a good example. If you take a photo of yourself and you do it indoors with kind of like yellow lighting, and you take the same picture of yourself outdoors and you test both of them on Tinder profiles, you're going to find that the outdoor lighting does better than the indoor lighting. So that's a very small kind of example of that. But when you start adding up lots of things, what's the background? What does the image show you doing? What light does it put it in you? All these things bring up your value even more than, you know, how can I put it? There's so many elements that go into making your picture stand out. And you can work with what you have to maximize the results that you get on Tinder.
Yeah. It's interesting, too, because I know I'm not a photographer, but I know a little bit about photography. And naturally, you want to be going outside to take pictures with
Yeah.
sunlight, right?
Yeah.
At like when it's what's it called? When it's uh, golden hour, right? So when it's like
Yeah.
sundown
Exactly.
versus harsh artificial light at home. So that just makes a better picture anyways.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing, and that still occurs with online dating. Like taking a better
Yeah.
picture in general, it will make you look better, make you look
Right.
more attractive, therefore.
Right.
So some photography things like yeah.
About. So, for example, if you are just at your house and you take your cell phone out and you do a selfie like in a mirror in your bathroom, that is suggesting that you spend the highlights of your life because you think about Tinder, the Tinder profile, all the photos, those are supposed to be the highlights of your life that get people interested in you and give people an idea of what you do. So if your photo of a selfie is you in a bathroom, you're kind of suggesting to her like, hey, this is kind of my life. I live in a small apartment. Here's my bathroom that I poop in. That's all the information you're getting across. It makes you kind of look isolated and lonely. But if you do a selfie, like for example, I was in Japan and I went to Nara Park where you have these like deers everywhere, right? And I had a little GoPro and I did a selfie of it where it was the GoPro was on the ground looking up with me and this deer. It's a selfie. It's still a picture of me, but that image has this totally different vibe. It makes me look like I'm caring, makes me look like I care about animals, which may or may not be true. That doesn't matter. But the context of the image completely changes it when your genetics doesn't change. So that's just like the selfie is a very good example of that because you can have a selfie that's just so bad and makes you look terrible, and you can have a selfie that just exceeds and shines on Tinder.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I like that analysis too because in my head, I know that a selfie in the bathroom looks terrible, but now kind of diving into that, it makes
Yeah,
sense. Like I didn't really think about it that way. Never really analyzed it to the point where I was like, oh yeah, that makes you look very isolated, even though you're isolated in your pictures anyways. But for some
right.
reason, there's a context there of lonely person having to go to the bathroom to take a picture, has no one there to take a picture of him, or isn't doing anything interesting,
Totally.
right? Yeah.
Totally. Well, the thing is too with all of your profiles, whether you're on OkCupid or Plenty of Fish or whatever, you are reduced. Your entire humanity is just reduced to this two-dimensional profile. So what is there is the complete representation of you. So, for example, if you have a vibrant life, if you hang out and you meet people, you have interesting hobbies, you have passions, you do all kinds of amazing things, it doesn't matter how much of that you write in your bio. In fact, it doesn't matter at all. You're just kind of like trying to convince someone that you do these things and that you're interesting and you have a life. But where it gets across is with your images. So if you just go online on Facebook and grab some pictures of you at like a wedding and at a bar with a few friends and a selfie of you, you're painting a picture of yourself that a woman isn't going to see beyond. She's just seeing that two-dimensional spread. All that other all those other great aspects about your life and all your passions and ambitions, they will not come through. So your photos have to have the highlights of you, as if like I don't know, those old cartoons where you like get hit by a bus and then they see their life flash before their eyes in like
Yeah.
half a second. Okay, well imagine that happened to you, and all you see is like a Tinder selfie of yourself,
In the
and a picture of
bathroom.
you like bored at a wedding. Yeah, in a bathroom. You don't want that. You want the absolute highlights, which means yeah, you either have to get a camera and have it with you during those highlights, or you have to recreate them.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we've already gotten deep into material here, but let's rewind for a second because I introduced you, but I don't think I did it properly. So maybe you can tell everyone who's watching who you are, why you know what you know. You have a YouTube channel, all those things. So you
Mm-hmm.
can kind of do your own little introduction here so guys can
Cool.
get to know you.
Yeah. So, hi everyone. Again, I'm Mark, and if you guys have heard of Simple Pickup, I used to work with them when they had a channel. After Simple Pickup, a friend and a friend and I started Zerby, which at the time was sort of like a wingman where you'd text in for advice with, things weren't going well on Tinder. You could say, "Hey, what do we say next?" Over time, Zerby's just kind of become a blog, and it's garnered a lot of readership. So people come for online dating and Tinder advice, photo advice. Kind of stems from both my background in dating, but also my background in photography. I just finished my master's in photography. So that's a really great skill set when it comes to online dating. So I try to write about Tinder and online dating, but I always try to come from a perspective of data as much as I can. So a lot of the advice that I give comes from split testing multiple profiles with different photos to see which category of photo does better rather than me just say like, hey, here's what I think. Um, yeah. Anyway, that's my intro.
Cool.
So nice to meet you guys.
Cool. Awesome. Well, we're happy to have you here, man. No, this is awesome. So I love that you have a lot of data backed ideas here, for guys to
Mm-hmm.
use with their profile. So as far as I see it, right, we've three factors involved with online dating. Whether you're on apps or whether you're on sites, you got your bio, you have your pictures, and then there's the messaging aspect. Is there anything else I'm missing?
Mhm. No, I think that's pretty much everything.
Okay, so those are the three things. So
Yeah.
let's go.
Yes. Okay, so first off, I will come clean. I used to hate copy pasted lines. I used to make videos about how you should never use copy
I
pasted
literally said
lines.
that on a live last week or 2 weeks ago. I said not
Yeah,
to do it,
yeah,
but I have a feeling you have something a little bit different here in terms of how this
yeah.
works.
Well, that was always my feeling, and then I started testing lines. And I started comparing my custom lines versus copy pasted lines. And I started realizing that there are ways to utilize copy pasted lines that seriously work. And by work, what I mean to say is they garner a positive response from the maximum number of women you send it to.
Now, are these
Um,
lines sustainable for a very long time? Are these timeless, so to speak? Like, do you have lines that are timeless, or because I remember you showed me something
yes.
earlier that I read where you had a little bit of a system to find great lines. So I'm curious if
Yes.
are we working a system here, or do you actually have lines that are timeless? Like, you think that will
So
always
yeah,
work?
okay, that's a good question. Even if you get a line that is completely copy pasted, where everyone on the internet has it. Okay, I'll give an example. There's a line that is going around that everyone's using. It's "Hey trouble," and I'm
Hey,
sure a lot of
trouble.
your, yeah, I don't know if you've heard it, but
No, I mean I've
it's
I've kind of
everywhere.
heard of like flirting with a girl and saying "Hey, troublemaker," you're a troublemaker,
Yeah,
but so just "Hey, trouble."
yeah, "Hey trouble." So that's something that's
Yeah.
going around, and some company made it, and a lot of people are using it. What I want to stress is two things. One, even if you have a line that's so overdone that everyone uses, you need to understand that the way that Tinder works is you have millions of users that are coming on to the platform, especially women. They're on for a short period of time and then they're off. They delete it, they find a guy, or they're new girls who turn 18 or 19 that get onto the platform. So even if some of these lines, let's say, are burned out, they're used by a lot of people, it still will work. It's just a matter of the percentage. So a copy pasted line that everyone uses will still work. It's just the percentage of its success will slightly go down as a percentage of the women you send it to have heard it before. So in a sense, every kind of copy pasted line is timeless, although some of the lines that I'll get into really are timeless. And I'll also get into kind of the three elements that I think all Tinder openers need to have. And there's also Tinder openers that are half copy pasted and half customized. So those do particularly well because right off the bat they show her that you're not just copy and pasting, even though that's exactly what you're doing.
Okay.
So with that said, I think that it's important to touch on what three elements a copy pasted line needs to have, at least in my opinion. And if you guys are watching live, I'd love to hear, what you think and what you use for your copy pasted lines. But the first thing is they have to have an emotional spike. That's really important. And what I mean by that is, if you think about the typical girl on Tinder, she is bombarded with so many messages that are absolutely identical. In fact, we did a study where we had a female profile that had no bio at all and just boring pictures, nothing really in the profile that would, let's say, get any kind of real response from a guy. Because what are you going to send? It's just a boring profile. And a lot of guys struggle with that. How do you send a message to a female who has absolutely nothing on her profile that's worth commenting on and no bio? And we in the first day got like 183 matches on that profile, and then we divided up the messages that the guy sent based on category, and there were 5 categories, and something like 92% of all the responses were predictable lines from the same 5 categories. So even if your line is copy and pasted, so long as it has some kind of emotional high to it, it's not just a variation of, hey, hi, what's up? It's not just a random GIF. It's not just a random emoji. You're already going to get a, um, you're already going to be better than 92% of the other guys sending messages. She's going to look at your message. So that's a good starting point.
Got it.
Um, I remember I sent I was doing a YouTube video and I lost the footage, so unfortunately it didn't go up. But you know how Siri does auto suggest,
Yeah.
Trip?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I was just like sending messages to matches where I wasn't typing anything. I was just using auto suggest. And Siri was just like messaging the girls for me. And the messages were kind of weird, you know? um, they didn't really make sense and they were kind of left field, like right field. One of them was, it was great. I don't know what I'm going to do with you. It's like, that's a really funny line. And all those messages got responses back, almost 100% of them, because they're not something that a girl is going to receive. It's going to give her an emotional
But
high
does it
to
sound like
read that
broken
message.
English?
No, it's not broken English. Siri does a pretty good job, like getting the grammar right,
Oh, okay. You
but
know,
it's just
I just realized I
random.
don't think I
You know
have
what I mean?
used this before, so I don't know what this is. So you can do it where they.
Oh.
So what is? So explain this again. What is the Siri thing?
So, okay, basically, if you're going to send a message on your iPhone, right? You can, like, okay, let me show you an example. Like, let's say you just type H, right? I don't know if you can see. It will kind of give three options to say a word. So, I press H, it says hey, and then the next suggestion is man, I'm gonna,
Oh yeah.
and then,
Okay. So I've seen that before.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just testing it. Like, what happens if I send lines that I don't send?
Okay. Got it.
Can Siri get more women than? Oh, now Siri is asking what I want. Can that get more matches to respond than me sending custom messages? That was sort of the experiment. So that's sort of the emotional high. Is you got to make the lines stand out and be interesting or wild or fun or exciting in some way, even if they don't make sense.
Got it. I like that.
Um,
Okay. Okay. Cool. So
yeah,
emotional spike.
Yeah. Um, the next thing is not only do they have to have an emotional spike, but they have to actually set you up for the next step. So, you can send a line that's really, let's say, aggressive or is really out there, is too crazy. And of course, she'll respond, but it's not setting you up for the next step, which is ideally leading towards the date, right? So that's sort of like the downfall of the Siri thing. A lot of those lines were crazy and interesting and would pique her emotions, but they would do nothing to lead us to the date because then she'd just be like thinking I'm just trolling her, right?
Right.
So she'd respond, but it wouldn't be the kind of response um, that I want. And I guess the third thing that every opener needs to have is it needs to stand out. Now we've kind of touched on that already. Um, having your opening message be emotional already makes it stand out. Um, but if you send let's say an opening message that is like a GIF, like of a bear waving, that makes you feel something. It's a funny GIF, but it doesn't make you stand out because she's seen that stupid bear waving GIF a million times. So you just fold in to all of the other guys on online dating.
Okay.
So three things that every opener has, and it really doesn't matter whether that opener is copy pasted or whether it's custom. So long as it hits those three notes, the likelihood that you get a response back is going to be higher than if in a perfect world, it'd be higher than if you don't use those three elements.
So summarize the three elements again. They are.
They are emotional. They have an emotional spike. They set you up for the next step, and they stand you out from the crowd. You don't want to be in that 92% that's sending the exact same message.
Cool. All right. I think it's time to hear some examples. And yes, guys in the chat, you can start putting yours in, and then we'll dissect them and
Oh, that's
and
fun.
go
That's a
through
good
them.
idea.
So if anyone, some people are saying, can we share ours? So yeah, write them, guys. Be serious, so we can actually give you like actual feedback. I know some people are gonna just write jokey things, but if you have them, just write them in there. So we'll actually dissect them and we'll help you out. So Mark, you're up. You're first.
Sell. All right. So I have a few openers I'll go over, but I want to tell you something real quick. All the openers that I'm going to show you, I put together a post on my blog. That's literally just zerby.co/trip. And if you go there, every example that I'm going to tell you is there, so you can see the screenshot of it. So Okay. First opening copy pasted line. I really like this. You type your dream lover in 3 emojis. Go. So this, again, it sets her up to respond back with something fun and interesting. You have to think from her point of view, Tinder's kind of, it can be really boring and frustrating where if there's a guy that she likes and she matches with, and the guy just says, hey, what's up? She wants the conversation to move forward just like you do. So you want to try to set that first line up to be interesting and fun and get a little bit of role play and a little bit of push pull back and forth. So doing this kind of line does that. So this one girl that I'm giving an example of, she responded back with a lyric, a little camping tent, and then a crazy face. So it makes a fun game for all of you, and then you can respond back with 3 emojis that maybe even have nothing to do with her, that are kind of, I won't say mean, but you can tease her a little bit with 3 emojis that maybe someone doesn't want associated with them, or maybe they do, maybe just 3 eggplants. I don't know. Um, so in this, by the way, in this case, when she sent those 3 emojis, I said, "Holy crap, you're into yodeling tent salesman. What are the odds?" It doesn't even have to make sense, but the idea is whatever emoji she gives you, you can just make up a story that is ridiculous.
Right. That has nothing to do with whatever she's trying to convey, just to like
Yeah.
mess around.
Yeah, it's a thing with Tinder. You never have to be logical. In fact, you don't want to be. You don't want to be. You should never think of Tinder as having a real conversation to get to know someone, because that is not the point of Tinder. The point of Tinder is to relax and just kind of shoot the shit, just kind of have fun. If you try to be so serious, it's not going to work because you can't really get to know someone over text.
And it's pretty boring.
It's
And
really
we can
boring.
probably assume
Yeah.
that a lot of other guys are doing that because that's the kind of intuitive thought, right?
Yeah.
Is to try to get to know them.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't get to know someone online at all. That's just the reality. And the more you try to force it, the more awkward it becomes. And I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this, but I know I have, where you meet a girl on Tinder or online dating and things are going really well and you're connecting really, really deeply. And like days go by and you just feel this incredible connection. And she feels it too. And then you go to ask her out and she flakes. And you're like, what the heck? We seemed so into each other. What happened? Well, it's because you built up a version of her and she built up a version of you that doesn't exist. And it became too intense. You haven't even met. So avoid that. Don't let that happen to you.
I like it.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. Before you go to your next one, let's go like one for
Yeah.
one. So I'll pick one in the chat and you can give your thoughts on it. And then yeah, we'll see. Okay, so let me start from the top here. So someone said, Jonathan said, here's the opener. Okay, you have great energy from your pics. You have great energy from your pics. So he said it suggests that she's attractive without saying you're hot, and it hits more on an emotional level, which creates a deeper connection. I mean, listen, I know like everything is testable, right? It's like I know that you won't be the final word on it because who knows? You don't know. Like you only know by data if it's going to work or not.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Just, what are your thoughts on that one?
What I like about it is that your complimenting can work. Complimenting looks typically isn't the best idea. So if you can find something such as energy to compliment her on, that's better. I would say that if you took that line, I really like your energy, and you use that as the base, and then you semi-customize it by picking one thing in her profile that you can plug in. Like, I like, X about you. You have good energy. If you can just do that one little twist, it'll make it stand out a little bit more than just a blanket, like, because from her point of view, she's like, why?
Right. Why is that happening?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think it's the right direction. You can just take that and semi-customize it to get it to the next level.
Okay, cool. Let's do another one. That was good.
Yeah.
That was good. High name at the Olympic Games for people with excellent dating histories. Would you win a medal?
Huh. I can see that working.
High name at the Olympic Games for people with excellent dating histories. Would you win a medal?
I think you can make that better if you made a little joke about the Olympics being canceled. Are the
Yeah.
Olympics being canceled because, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you can make it a little more topical and a little more emotional, I think it would be great. But I think that line would do quite well. And just like Tripp said, everything here you need to test, man. You need to test it. But yeah, I think that could do well.
Okay, cool. Hey, someone just says one really funny, actually. I kind of like this one. I don't know if it would work, but it,
Yeah.
it just makes me laugh. Someone said, "What vegetable gives you the most anxiety?" I don't know.
That
That's
would
funny.
completely work.
That's a really weird question. I kind of like that. Um, okay, cool. All right,
I like that.
let's go back to yours now. Let's go back to yours. What do you got for us?
Okay, here's a good one. This is one where you don't have to customize it. It's one where you can send. And what I like about this is if it works the way that you want it to work, you can get the number after just one line. So it's hey name and her name obviously. How do you pronounce your phone number?
That's good.
Yeah. So
Really, actually awesome. If she let me see. Haha. That wait. Haha. That's genuinely. Put it more in the little more to the left.
okay. There it is.
Yeah. Now back up a little bit.
All right.
Haha. That's genuinely made me laugh. And then, oh, nice. There you go.
So yeah, I mean the idea again
Wait,
is that
was that an
emotional high.
app?
No, this is just
Was that?
this is on my website and that's just
Oh,
the
okay. I was like, is it, you
thing
guys
at the
have a
top.
dating app too? All right, got it.
Yeah. But yeah, every
Um,
screenshot or every line that I give you now has been tested and is in that blog post. So you can see the actual line and the profile of the girl that it worked on and all that information is
cool,
there.
cool. What else? What else you got?
Okay, so this one I really
Wait, hold on. I
like,
actually want to go back to that one for a
especially
second. So
yeah.
you're saying that's a high conversion rate. They'll just give you
Mhm.
their number after that opening.
No. It doesn't mean that they'll give you your doesn't mean that they will give you their number.
Okay,
That's like the ideal situation, but typically you'll just get the first part. Well, they'll laugh and then it will start the conversation forward.
got it.
You know what I mean? Um,
Real quick,
Getting the
how
number off your
often do
first
you
line is
how long do you recommend? How many messages do you recommend before going for their number?
yeah, that's a great question. So I'll give you two things to chew on with that because that's everyone wants to know, right? And unfortunately, there's not just like an easy answer. Although I would say less than 10. The two things to keep in mind is it's always better to ask for the number too soon than too late. After that window closes, after the conversation starts to peter out. Okay, here's a great example. If you're on a date with a girl, right, and you don't kiss her, and it's like the end of the first date, and you're at her door, and like you try to force the kiss, it makes things really weird and awkward, right? Typically, you want to kiss her when things are at their best, when things are at the peak. So with asking a girl out, it's the same way. It's always better to do it sooner than wait till the conversation gets stale and boring and then being like, "Oh yeah, this kind of sucks. This is boring. By the way, what's your number? Let's talk." It doesn't work. Um, the other thing is when it comes to asking her number, you typically do it when she's the most engaged in the conversation. So if she's asking you questions, if she is using lots of emojis or using lots of ha-has or her messages are longer than yours, any combination of those things is an indicator that it's time to ask for the number. And it can literally be after just the first message or the second message.
What if she says she says no, or she says, nah, well, could we get to know each other a little bit more first, or I don't give my number so soon, or something along those lines? Do you keep
Yeah.
on? Do you recommend to
So
keep on going, or just drop it and move?
the only time I would ever drop it and move is when the girl is giving you consistently one word responses. That's just a girl who's bored at work that's just trying to see what you'll say. You know what I mean? So if a girl just says haha, yeah, no, after like two or three messages, you just move on. There's not really a point in doing that. But otherwise, if she's engaged in the conversation, even if she says no, you might as well continue because there's a chance. So long as she's giving any positive feedback on what you send, whether it's emojis, exclamation points, sentences, questions, anything like that, keep going. And if a girl says no, she's like, we need to keep getting to know each other. You can turn it on its head. You can make it seem like she's the one who asked your number and you're not ready to give it out. Again, it doesn't have to be logical.
Yeah.
It just has to be lighthearted.
Yeah. What's interesting too is, and I'm sure you've experienced this, it's not always the guys who offer who ask for the number. There's plenty of times when the girl will just be like, she's made up her mind and she wants to kind of just like, let's go. And she'll be like, well, we should text. Yep. Here's my number. Or would love to hang out. Here's my number. Like, she's offering it. So that happens too sometimes, where you get to that point where it's just like, great, she's interested. Yep. But I would say, and I'm sure you agree with this, don't wait for that moment. Like, just close when the what'd you say, when she's really engaged.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. When you start getting the feedback that she's really engaged, that's when you ask. You don't wait around.
Yeah. Cool.
I mean, you can, but it probably won't work out in the long run.
Right. It gets stale, right? Stale.
Yeah, it gets super stale. Okay. And you'll be surprised like how fast you can go from a really engaging conversation to one line later, it's like over.
Yeah.
So don't let that happen.
Yeah. Okay, cool. What other openers you got?
All right. So this one I love. This is for if you have a new profile and you're kind of testing it out and you want feedback. A lot of people use Photo Feeler. The problem with Photo Feeler or any kind of app like that is people aren't voting on you and on your photos because they're actually interested in sleeping with you. They're voting on you to get you the hell out of the way fast so they can get the feedback on their own profile. And, you don't want a girl who would never be interested in you at all voting on what photo you should have. A really great example of that, by the way, is I have these two photos. One of them looks really nice. I have very clean cut hair, very kind of traditional, well shot portrait of me. And then I have another photo of me that is so, in theory, so bad. It's me outdoors with, can you hear me, by the way?
Yeah.
My sound just got cut off.
Nope, we're good. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hold on one sec, guys.
Okay, we'll wait for him to come back. But I was able to hear him. Guys, just so you know, the reason... So someone said in the chat...
Not hearing anything.
Okay. So the reason why...
I'm going to go to my sound settings.
We're doing more online dating stuff recently is because we are not allowed to go out and meet women. It's a really rough time to be doing that. He probably thinks that I'm talking to him right now, but I'm not. Can you hear? Hold on. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties.
Hey,
you back?
I'm back, yeah. Is there an echo? Can you hear my microphone twice?
Nope, we hear you perfect. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Now I can't hear you.
I'm there. Okay.
Now I can hear you.
That sucks.
And you're really...
Okay, well, that's good.
Okay. Good?
All right.
Okay.
Yep.
Just got to fix the...
Sorry.
So continue where you were.
All right. Let me... I was basically saying that, my second picture was me in a man bun outside with a guitar. It's so cheesy and so terrible. And terribly. People are like, who the hell is this guy? What does he think he's doing? But when I split tested it on Tinder, that picture did. So the point here is if you are testing things, don't go it's the first thing I thought when I matched with Mark was, and then you leave a space at the bottom. And then the girl will, yeah, exactly. So she'll respond. It's like kind of breaking the fourth wall. It's as if she's thinking to herself. So she'll tell you, she'll say either like, oh, I actually really liked one of your photos, or she'll make fun of you. And then it becomes fun and kind of teasing. So there's a lot of ways to use that line and get a lot of not just data from it, but it's also a great line for setting up a fun dynamic and role play.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. Okay.
So do we want to hit the chat and see?
Yeah, let's see
if there's any more.
We had a few more. Someone said that they get a 75% success rate with, and who knows if it's true. guess I'll take them at their word. Very straightforward. I usually say something like, "Hey, had a busy week and I'm looking for a date. Hey, had a busy week and I'm looking for a date on day. Are you free to blow off some steam?" So it's, "Hey,
That's
had a
awesome.
busy week and I'm looking for a date on Tuesday. Are you free to
Yeah.
blow off some steam?" What do you think about that one?
If that works, that's awesome. You,
Right to the
you
point.
may
Right to
have
the point.
a
No
very
emotional spike
good
though.
bio. Yeah. The only thing I could think of, it's so direct and so kind of manly and animalistic that maybe that's what causes the spike. 75% success from that is pretty crazy. That means if you're sending it to 100 matches in 1 week, you have 75 dates lined up, or at least 75 numbers. That seems pretty high, although,
Maybe he means
um,
75% response rate. I'm not sure. And who knows? He might be fucking around. I
yeah,
really don't know for sure. But it's interesting. Worth testing.
yeah,
I think that's worth testing. Just going right for
yeah,
the close.
absolutely.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, super direct.
Let's see what else is there. Wait, there was the vegetable one. We already talked about that one. That was funny.
That's such a good line. I really like that.
Someone did this. It says dot 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 dot, and then a soccer ball emoji, and then it says, "Whoops, my ball rolled into your DMs."
Okay. I mean, that sounds like it'd be better for Instagram than Tinder,
Yeah, maybe. Although it's
but
so
I could see
funny,
that
guys
working.
always ask like, "What are the best ways to slide into a girl's DMs?" And it's like the conversion rate's so low.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's just
It's hard.
like, it's just why
Yeah,
waste your time? You're wasting your
yeah,
time. Like, go for warm leads. Women who are
yeah,
looking for dates, go on the apps, go on the sites,
yep,
or at least do the cold approaches to get your skill set back in,
totally.
you know?
Yeah, Instagram has such a low conversion.
Yeah.
You really gotta want to waste time. You really need to waste time if that's what you focus on.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, cool. Do you have any more?
Yeah, I got some more.
Cool.
So this line is not one that comes from me. This comes from a guy named Hamza, who is one of the guys that's in the Zerby Facebook group. And he came up with this entire script. It's the opening line, but it's also the response to it. And it goes all the way down to getting the number. And in our group, this setup, let's say, became really popular because it seems to work very well for almost everyone who's tried it. So maybe you guys listening, you could try this entire thing tonight and see if you get any matches or any dates lined up from it. That would be really cool, especially in live time. Try this while you're watching live and see if it works. Okay, so here's how it goes. The first line is, "I thought about letting you message me first, but I can tell that you prefer a man that leads." So right off the bat, really gets attention, is not like anything she's seen before. Be really careful, by the way. There are people in the group that tried that line, and instead of saying "I thought about letting you message me first," they changed it to "make." I thought about making you message me first. That does not work at all. So be specific with your language. Try to follow the script exactly
Yeah.
until you get the principles.
Yeah.
So the girl, here's the key. The girl can say almost anything back. This entire script that I'm giving you, by the way, I've mentioned this a few times in this stream. You don't need to be logical. So even if you have your own script or copy pasted lines that you run through your own funnel, let's say, um, you can customize lines and it will help with conversion, but you can also just ignore what they say completely and just send the next line in your funnel and it will work. So in this case, she says, "I mean very true," but again, it doesn't really matter what she says. It can be anything. And then you say, "I just get the feeling you would rather be pulled into a kiss than go for the kiss yourself." Generalization, but again, it kind of spikes emotions. It's very direct and forward. And then she says whatever she wants to say. In this case, it's "wouldn't we all ha ha ha." And then you say, "I'll make it certain on our date." So that's seeding the date, right? Because now she knows, okay, he's going to ask me out next. And she just says, in this case, "Okay, ha ha ha." And then, then you ask her out, shoot me your number so we can plan it out. And then, she gives the number. So this is scary effective, how well this works. For this, by the way, you kind of have to have a profile that shows you as being confident. You need to come across as confident and competent in your profile for this to work. But that's as easy as getting one decent profile picture that you have a photographer take of you. But yeah, this works super well.
Nice. So that's all lined out in the link.
Yeah.
The link is in the description,
Yep.
guys, if you want to check that out. So all these are already, Mark put all them on a little page for us, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
So check it out. Link is in the description. It's right at the top. I put it in there. Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, clearly.
Yeah, I love that.
Clearly. What do you think about Bumble? Someone asked in the chat. Like, do you have any preferences on apps? Like, people always ask, what are the best apps to use? Like, what do you think?
Okay, so here's the thing. We did a study on all the different apps, and few interesting takeaways. One, the best app you can be on in terms of a female to male ratio is the Christian Mingle site. Not that you would be on it. I'm just saying,
like, more females than males on that one.
Not more. It's just less of a sausage party than Tinder. So depending on the state, Tinder is very bad. Tinder, I think California, it's 20 males to 1 female user. Wyoming, I think, is the best state to be in for Tinder, and it's like a 4-to-1 or something. In terms of having the best female to male ratio, Christian Mingle is number 1. Number 2 is Coffee Meets Bagel. Coffee Meets Bagel is decent. It's a good app. You're going to get women who maybe are less party-ish, maybe more
looking for something serious.
Yeah, more serious, more academic, I guess.
Yeah.
So it kind of depends on what you want. Different apps will have different demographics. In terms of percentages, again, your best bet is Coffee Meets Bagel, but you're not going to get necessarily the kind of girls that you're interested in. Bumble's fine. The thing is with Bumble that you have to remember is, they market Bumble that the girl messages you first. No, that is not how Bumble works. You message first on Bumble. Yes, of course, technically speaking, she will send a message to you before you message her.
I think that's how it used to be, though.
No. Here's what I mean. Technically speaking, yes. On Bumble, the girl messages you first. But as a guy on Bumble, you can't think of it like that. She's not sending a first message. She's saying hi or hey. What she's actually doing is giving you the opportunity to send a first message to her.
She's going, here you go.
Yeah. So, the thing is, Bumble is like, girls will send a bad opening message because they don't need to send a good one. It's it's not the right. The numbers aren't in your favor as a guy, let's say. So in Bumble, you still have to send an opening message that isn't boring. You can't just respond to her saying like, "Hey, what's up?" and you say, "Oh, nothing much. What about you?" It doesn't work. So long as you think about Bumble like you're messaging first, it can be really effective.
Okay, got it. So you just, even if you're on Bumble, use the same principles that we're talking about here.
Totally, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it. So do you think it's a bad idea then to be on Bumble since the ratio is poor?
I mean, the ratio is going to be poor on everything. Even on Coffee Meets Bagel, it's still poor. It's even in just life, there are more, I believe, more males than females on planet Earth. So it just sort of like, what club do you want to go to? Do you want to go to the club where it has the most attractive women looking for, let's say, more short-term excitement, where it's all guys there and like 5 hot girls, or do you want to go to your university to do approaches where maybe you're getting a different demographic? You're not getting like party girls, but maybe that doesn't make sense because you're going to get party girls at universities too. But the point is, you're just picking a venue. Some venues are going to have a better ratio than others, but you're going to get a different demographic than others.
Got it. So I guess So depending on what you're looking for, and dependent on the demo that you want, I guess, or that you care about, that should be your basis on what app or site to pick. I mean, it's the same. Also, it's the idea of what people want. So if you want if you're looking at dating sites and you go on something like Match, eHarmony,
Mhm.
JDate, kind of OkCupid, I feel like those are like we're looking for relationships, girls.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
maybe
Yep.
they're all looking for relationships and all of it, but still, I feel like you might find some women who aren't as serious about it. Like
Yeah.
some women are very serious about it. Like they're like, I'm looking to
Right.
get married. I want a relationship. This is the route I'm going. I'm not messing around. Whereas you might have a little bit more of a casual dater who, of course, wants a relationship, but they'll see where things go on something like
Yeah.
OkCupid, Plenty of Fish. I don't know if there's any new ones beyond that, but and then of course that
Yeah.
same
And at
idea
the end
with
of the
some of
day,
the apps.
yeah. I mean, Tinder is going to be your best bet at the end of the day. Tinder and Bumble, right? You can use the other apps, and I play with them and experiment, but the reality is those two apps have the most people. You have the widest pool to choose from, especially if you're in a big city like New York, where even if you have a lower percentage of conversion on Tinder because there is more competition, it doesn't matter because your pool is so large. And if you're sending copy pasted lines, you can burn through sending the messages. So what does it matter if you have a 10% versus a 40% conversion if you're sending it to 1,000 people instead of 100 people? Because then you end up with more with a lower conversion.
Yeah. So then basically what I've been saying is at the end of the day, just use the most popular apps.
Exactly.
Whether, you're
Exactly.
watching this now or 5 years from now, whatever the most popular apps and sites are, those are the ones to use.
Yeah. That and also, I don't teach in person approaching or anything like that, but um, Tinder and Bumble, all these things, they shouldn't be the primary way you meet women. Even though my livelihood comes from an online dating blog, approaching is the way to go. Bumble and Tinder and all this should be background. Like while you're going to the bathroom, you fire it up and send some lines. It shouldn't be the primary,
Yeah. Yeah,
at
no,
least in
listen,
my
I agree,
opinion.
man. I'm with you 100%. I'm glad that you said that, even though that you talk about that so much, just because,
Mhm.
and the reason why I'm talking. I mean, I would do this anyways, if even if there wasn't the whole, quarantine and COVID going around. But
Yeah.
so I would do this anyways. But I do believe that your best bet and best kind of like bang for your buck in terms of time
Yeah.
is going out and doing approaches. I don't know. I just find
There's no
that
question. Yeah.
you when you go out, or when you're, this is what I found when I was doing dating apps and sites.
Hmm.
I found that I would get together with these women, and most did not look like their profile, and I would be
Hmm.
somewhat disappointed, you know. And call me shallow, but I think we all want to be going on a date with the person that we see. And so I did not see that as
Yes.
much.
Yeah.
And I like the idea. And this is just one of the reasons why I like cold approaching so much, is because you know what you're getting.
Yes.
It's harder for sure, but you know what you're getting. But yeah, I don't think it's kind of one or the other. Do it all. Do it all.
Yeah.
Get as many leads into the funnel, I like to say, and
Yeah.
optimize all of it. Like we're talking about optimizing messages for
Hmm.
responses, bio, pictures, all that, and then optimize your approach and get better at conversing. So
Yep.
so yeah. Someone said here, oh, my profile mostly fits. You're going to do this. If you're just like no, no, no. I thought of a question. Um, so what happens? What do you recommend? You get a girl's number. Now you're texting, and she can't meet. This is kind of a little off topic here, but
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
can't meet up because she's busy or whatever. Do you? What do
Yeah.
you do? You recommend texting and texting them before? Well, I guess there's two scenarios. I want to try to make this concise. So two scenarios. One, you're texting now. You're off the dating app or site. You're texting. You set up the date, but the date's like 7 to 10 days away. So in that
Yep.
scenario, what are your thoughts on continuing communication with them before the date? Do you do it? Do you not do it? What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, if you don't do it at all, if it's more than a week away or more than 5 days away, if you don't do it at all, she's going to just assume that you flaked or you're not interested.
Okay.
So you do need to retain some communication. It can be really simple. Like, for example, last night because I'm stuck inside, I've really gotten into watching the Great Bake Off, the British Bake Off. So, and it's so embarrassing, but I can't stop watching it. So I tried making croissants last night, and they came out so pathetic. It's not even funny. And the fact that I'm half French makes it even more of an insult and more of a blow to my ego. So, I had this disgusting, terrible, burned, little shriveled up croissant. And when I took a picture of it, that's something that I could have sent to her out of the blue, where it's sort of like kind of tragic and sort of cute and funny at the same time. So, when you're having a conversation with a girl and you get her number and there's a lot of dead time between the date and when you get their number, you know, in be, you don't want to be so calculated as like in 3 days I'm going to send a message. But when you experience or see or get a photo of something that is lighthearted and fun and kind of cute, then you can just send it to her out of the blue and be like, hey, for our date, I'm saving one of these for you, and then be the picture of the terrible croissant. Just casual and relaxed and fun. And you want her to think, hey, when this guy contacts me, I always feel better. You know what I mean? You don't want to come from a place of like, oh no, it's been 4 days, I haven't contacted her, I have to force myself to message her, and then you send a boring message like, oh hey, how's it going? you know, Instead, just send something interesting or something that made you think of her.
I like that. Okay, cool. So that's a good answer. Um, part two, part two is of my question is, what if like, you're trying to set up a date but they're not biting?
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of busy, or they're
Yeah.
saying like, "Oh, I can't do it that day," but they're not offering another suggestion. Like they're not kind of with you and
Yeah.
engaged in this process of setting up a date. When do you just
Yeah.
call it quits?
Okay. Biggest game changer I'm going to give you in this entire video, I think, is this. And this doesn't even matter if you're just getting her number or her WhatsApp from Tinder and doing this now, or if she's being kind of flaky on you. The secret is this: you WhatsApp call them or you phone call. No one's doing it anymore. It's a dead art. People aren't calling or using voice notes or voice messages. And all you have to do is say, hey, do you have 5 minutes free? I have a story I have to tell you, right? It gets intrigue and they'll say, all right, sure, whatever. And then you call or use a voice note. And what you do at that point is you send a story. The story doesn't matter what it is. It just needs to be kind of funny. Maybe it's a little bit humble bragging, um, whatever. But all that matters is that you're having a conversation, person to person, not on text. For whatever reason, that's like crack cocaine for these girls. When they're talking to you and you have the ability to express yourself and you have a little bit of a back and forth conversation that's very light. Again, you're just telling a stupid, like, okay, perfect example. The story I just told you guys about me watching the British Bake Off show and then making these sad, terrible little croissants, that could be the voice message or the call. And then just like in text or in Tinder, when you're talking with them, when there's an emotional peak, when she's like giggling and laughing, that's when you go in for, hey, by the way, what are you doing in 2 days? We got to try to make our own and not fail this time. So the idea is fairly simple in that you get them to communicate with you on a different application where there's more of a personal connection, let's say, and then you wait until you create an emotional spike where they laugh or they giggled or they ask you a question, and then you try to set up the date. Because the worst thing you can do is have a girl kind of be flaking on you, and then like, how can I put it? When things are at the most low, where she's not fully sold on you, then trying to ask her out, it's never going to work. You have to get her invested. You have to get her laughing and making her think, oh, this guy's kind of fun to be around.
Yeah.
Then you ask.
Yeah.
And try not to make the date a week in
Yeah.
advance.
It's called buying temperature. You've heard of that term?
Yeah,
Buying
yeah,
temperature, yeah. So you gotta hit
yeah,
when the buying temperature is up. When they're most engaged, most interested, that's boom. That's when you go for it. When the emotions are
yeah,
high,
exactly.
when they're feeling,
Yep,
like feeling invested, like you're saying. Exactly.
yep.
Cool, man. Listen, we're almost out of time. So I always want to give you a platform to tell everyone who's watching where they can
Cool.
find you if they need help, what you have to offer, and anything else that you feel you want to say to the guys.
Cool. So, thank you so much, Tripp. I really appreciate it. I'm glad that you reached out. This was a lot of fun, and hanging out with you guys was also great. If you're interested in some of the things that we talked about, I put together a page that's specific to you guys, the audience here at Tripp. It's just zerby.co/Tripp. And if you go there, all of the examples that I gave in this video are there. But more than that, I know that the COVID thing is going around. So I actually have copy paste opening messages that you can send during the COVID craziness that's going on. But even if there's no COVID, once this passes and you're watching this in the future, these same opening lines can be used also for then. There's also, I show you the strategy of how I find the best copy pasted lines. Pretty much everything you need is in that article. So just go to zerby.co/Tripp, and that's pretty much it.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, I'm doing this because the link is in the description down below, guys. So you can check that out. Mark, dude, great information here, man. This is great.
Yeah, that
Guys,
was fun.
follow this stuff because right now, this is the time to use this stuff. Mark and I were talking a little bit about this earlier, is that right now is the time to do online dating, to swipe, to message on the sites and use this and then setting up virtual dates on top of that.
Yes.
I mean, right now it's an interesting time that we're living through, and there's not much we can do in terms of meeting these women and actually going on dates with these women, and obviously you're not approaching, but it doesn't have to stop. I think this is actually a really cool time. Is who knows how long we're going to have to be shelter at home. We don't know. It could be 3 more weeks, it could be 3 more months. We just don't know what's going to happen. I don't think it's going to be 3 more months, but I'm just saying, like, even so, throughout this whole time period, we can be setting up dates with women that, just having text relationships with or FaceTime relationships with for now. Like, I would never, ever, ever in a million years, except for this one exception, ever condone to do something like that, but there's no other option. And so the cool thing is you might get into some FaceTime little mini relationships or texting relationships with some girls, and you might be juggling a few, and maybe this quarantine lasts for a long time. So then some will fall off, but then you'll be swiping and messaging, and you'll meet some new ones. But by the time this is over, you might be able to line up like 3 to 7 dates. I mean, who
Totally.
knows? I mean, maybe even more. I don't think you could really keep up with 10 women at the same time. That's a lot of texting. But I mean, seriously, you can really have some stuff lined up. So just imagine,
Hmm.
boom, this is over. We start going back into the real world. You can now start going on a bunch of dates. I mean, it's pretty awesome. So, guys, the link is in the description down below. If you don't see it, that's because you got to refresh the page, because you probably came on, because I put the link in just like 30 minutes ago. So there you go. Guys, if you need any help with this, any coaching, you know where to find me, coachedbytripp.com. That's where you go to get coaching, one-on-one phone coaching, in person too. But right now there is no in-person coaching. So we'd have to do it over the phone, but that's something I do anyways. So check that out if you need help with what's going on in your dating life. I know right now there's not a lot, but either way, you and I would get started as soon as quarantine is over, and I'm out about 4 to 5 weeks anyways with current clients. So go to coachedbytripp.com if you need help. Mark, thanks, man. Thanks a bunch for being here. Really appreciate it. This is awesome.
That was great, man.
Cool.
Talk with you soon.
Cool. Awesome. So yeah, guys, check the link down below. Mark, we'll see you later. Guys, say thank you to him in the chat. Whoever gave me, Patrick, who gave me the $1.99 and said, hey, thanks, man. Appreciate you. All right, guys, take care. Thanks, Mark.